Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening, everyone. So today we are preparing for a Dhamma talk, and the topic would be about fulfilling parami in order to attain the liberation. Okay, so our topic is about parami. Now, first we need to understand what parami is. What is the word formation and what is the meaning of this word? Then only we'll be able to understand the real concept behind this idea. The word is divided into two parts: para plus me. Para plus me. The meaning of para is the liberation or nibbana. That is the other shore of the river. For example, if we take the life as a river, this world as a river, we are in a one shore, that is the samsara. The other shore is the nibbana. In order to reach that shore, we have to cross the current of water, which we call kilesa. So para is the other shore, which represents nibbana. Then parami, the word letter mi indicates anything that takes us to that shore, that is helpful in order to attain the other shore. So that is called parami. So in simple words, parami is the requirements in order to attain the liberation called nibbana. Another way of explaining this word is para represents the maggajnana. So the maggajnana is normally fourfold as Sotapatti Maggajnana, Sakadagami Maggajnana, Anagami Maggajnana, and Arahatta Maggajnana. Then the Arahatta Maggajnana, this attainment of Arahanthood, is again threefold as the Arahanta Maggajnana of a Arahant, of a Pacceka Buddha, and Samma Sambuddha. So parami, so the next definition is para represents the Maggajnana. So parami are the requirements in order to attain this Maggajnana. So as a result, we attain Nibbana. So that would be the second definition. So the parami are the requirements in order to attain this Nibbana in short way. Or in order to attain the Maggajnana, so one can attain Nibbana. Then we should look into this idea of parami in a more practical way. So like, for example, if we take Nibbana or Maggajnana is the attainment, whatever we do in order to reach this goal is called parami. For example, now the closest to the Maggajnana is vipassana. Even practicing vipassana meditation is fulfilling parami, is completing parami. We should not think in a way that parami is something else. Only when you fulfill that, you will get a ticket or some ability to reach Nibbana. No. These are the things that we should do in order to reach Nibbana. So, in order to have a practical understanding about parami, we should understand what takes us to Nibbana, what is the proximate cause of attaining Nibbana, and that what is the cause of that cause, what is the cause of that cause. So likewise, when we see the linear connection, we find out there are lots of spiritual requirement in order to reach this final goal. So whatever requirement necessary for the attainment is called parami. In our sasana, we define it as 10 paramis, classifying everything that are required to attain. So think like we are reaching a certain goal. In order to reach that, we need a lot of equipment, we need a lot of necessities. So they are the paramis. So whatever is required in order to attain this final goal are called paramis. So what is the proximate cause of attaining Nibbana? That is the Maggajnana. So Maggajnana is also a goal. So we have two goals, either to attain the Maggajnana and then liberate. So it doesn't matter, either Nibbana or Maggajnana. So what is the proximate cause for attaining Maggajnana? That is vipassana. So we have various types of vipassana knowledges, Sankharupekha, Bhayathupatthana, Udayabhaya. So we have a linear explanation about vipassana jnanas. All these vipassana are necessary in order to attain the Magga jnana. So, what is a Magga jnana? Magga jnana is eradicating the defilements that prevent us from attaining Nibbana, attaining the liberation. So, what Magga jnana does is, Magga jnana cut off these defilements and makes us to attain this unconditioned state. So, Magga jnana has the capacity to cut off the defilements. That Magga jnana gets this capacity because of the vipassana wisdom. Now, vipassana wisdom is a necessary parami to develop Magga jnana. Magga jnana is important to cut off the defilements and attain the liberation. Then we think about what are the necessary causes for vipassana. So likewise, when we keep on going, reducing the causes, we find out all the paramis. So today's explanation is about the brief introduction about parami. So in the lecture series, I will talk about each and every parami later on. So today we are going to try to understand what the parami are in a very basic sense. Yeah, so it is obvious to us now, vipassana jnana is a parami. So normally we put this into panya parami. That's how we normally do. So what are the requirements for vipassana meditation? In order to attain vipassana, we should have some few requisites. One is we should have some level of concentration in the mind. Otherwise, we are not able to do vipassana. We have to have our mind should not be distracted. We should have a good focus. If someone can have a jhana, that's much better. Or either someone should have at least some vipassana, some concentration, samadhi, in order to develop. And also we should have some sort of sila as a basis for our practice. Only then we'll be able to gain deeper vipassana wisdom. So sila is a must, some level of samadhi is a must. And then as savakas, we should also have some dhamma knowledge, the basic knowledge of understanding this world, life, nibbana, the nature of conditioned realities, and also how to practice. That is called Suttamaya Jnana. The Suttamaya Jnana is very important, and also Samadhi is quite important, and Sila is important. So with these qualities, Vipassana grows up. So developing a Sila, learning the Dhamma, practicing Samatha Bhavana are also in the realm of Parami. Why is that? Without these, we cannot develop Vipassana. Without Vipassana, we cannot attain Magga. If without Magga, we cannot attain the liberation. So these are also parts of our Parami. So always when we are learning about Parami, we should never forget our final goal. That is, I'll repeat again, that is Nibbana. In order to attain Nibbana, Magga Jnana has to arise. Why is Magga Jnana? That is another important point. Why Magga Jnana should arise? Magga Jnana is the wisdom and also the path factors, the entire Magga. We know 8 path factors are there. Aryo, Attangiko, Maggo. So these 8, led by Jnana, Magga Jnana, together including Magga Jnana, the 8 factors. And also the all Magga Chitta Chetasikas. Magga Chittupada we call, Chittupada. This entire thing eradicates defilements. What are these defilements? They are the latent defilements. We call Anusaya Kilesa. Only when this is removed, we attain the liberation. Why is that? Anupanna Dukkha, the suffering to come, would be eradicated, would cease, would come into non-existence. So that's called liberation. Now, the thing is, the Magga Jnana has a capacity, is capable of eradicating the latent defilements. This is something extraordinary ability of Magga Jnana. When we think about this objectively, not in a Buddhist perspective, Buddhists would believe that. When the Buddha said, when the scripture says the Magga Jnana can eradicate, yes, we would believe that. But think about a non-Buddhist. When we explain about the Magga Jnana to a critical person means who always questions, who always doubts, he would ask a question, is it possible that you would be able to get rid of all the defilement tendencies, that after that even someone hits you, even someone attacks your beloved ones, you will not get anger? Is it possible to come to such a state? So when we think objectively, it is a very extraordinary phenomenon happening. So when we say that we are able to remove all the defilements in our mind, but that is the capacity. That's why people easily doubt about Magga. That is one of the 8 reasons of doubt, Vichikichatthana we call. Why is that? Removing entire defilements is something, an extraordinary phenomenon. So Magga Jnana has this capacity. Why we are fulfilling Parami? We should understand this. We are fulfilling Parami to arouse this wisdom. Arouse this wisdom. So that we should never forget. Now, after this translation, I will try to explain this Magga Jnana in a different angle. So first we should know Magga Jnana has the capacity to cut off defilements. And why we are fulfilling this? In order to arouse this Magga Jnana. Yeah. So now we know, according to the scriptures, Magga Jnana can eradicate defilements. And we also know when the jhana, the Rupavachara, Arupavachara jhana, has the capacity to subdue defilements. It suppresses the defilements. And when we are studying Abhidhamma, we categorize the chittas as Kamavachara, Rupavachara, Arupavachara, Lokutara. Sometimes we may feel like it's not that we don't say it like this, but the idea is like there is something called Magga Jnana, then it arises in our mind. There is something called jhana, it arises in our mind. Actually, that's not what is happening. What happens is, we have a mind. It is a mind stream. Consciousness arises, passes away, arises, passes away. It keeps on happening like a lineage. So what we are doing by practice is, we upgrade our conscious stream, consciousness, into a higher level. We incapacitate our consciousness. We strengthen our consciousness. So it is capable of suppressing the defilements. And we empower our own consciousness to a certain level, and at one point, it is capable of eradicating the defilements. It's not that the Magga Jnana arises in our mind having been somewhere else. It is our own consciousness, it is our own wisdom that was arising in us, was developed into such a level, then it is capable of eradicating the defilements. We should try to think it in such an angle. Then what happens? We are resting the responsibility in ourselves. So if someone asks the question, Bhante, I try hard, but I'm not getting a jhana. I'm trying hard, the Magga Jnana doesn't arise in me. It's not that the Magga Jnana is prevented by something, so it cannot come. It's not that like when we are going to some place, it's been blocked by a car. No. Our mind is not developed to a level for our mind is not capable of eradicating the defilement. So Magga Jnana is a part of our mind. It's a level that our mind reaches. It's not something outside and arises within us. It is that our mind is developed to such a level, and it gets the capacity to eradicate the defilements. It gets the capacity to suppress the defilements. So Parami means upgrading our mind. Upgrading our mind to a level that it is capable of eradicating the defilements. Is it possible? Yes, it seems possible. Because when we keep on practicing, when we keep on developing good qualities, we see our mind starts to detach from defilements, goes too far away from defilements. It is capable of suppressing the defilements. And at a certain stage, it should be able to completely eradicate these latent defilements. So, fulfilling paramis means upgrading our own mind into a level that it is capable of getting freed from defilements. Right. So then we can look into this part. Now I discussed Parami is the requirements to attain the Nibbana, the liberation. So fulfilling Parami means developing such qualities. Another way is why we attain Nibbana with Magga Jnana. And Magga Jnana is nothing else than our own mind. Our own mind is developed into such a level. So fulfilling parami means upgrading our own self, own mind. I'm talking about self in the conventional level, not as ultimate reality. So there is another way. Now think about another approach about fulfilling paramis. What happens when we upgrade our mind? When we upgrade our mind, it becomes distant from kilesas, and at a certain level, it is capable of eradicating the defilements. Then we become purified. We are pure beings. We become pure beings. So how do we think about a pure being? Think about Buddha, think about an Arahant. We like to offer to Buddha, right? By chance, if Buddha appears now, surely we'll be going and offering things to him, because we know we are going to get great merit by offering to this great person. If you happen to know about an Arahant, surely we are going to treat him well, right? And that's why we treat the Sangha, because we think they are pure monks, pure. The Sangha is pure. So when the person is pure, how the purification happens? Because of getting rid of defilements. When a monk is practicing sila, he abstains from sex. He abstains from sensual pleasures. So his mind is considered pure than the normal lay life person. So that's why we respect monks. We respect anyone who is practicing good virtues. So if someone is detaching himself, him or herself, from defilements, what happens is he or she becomes pure. At a certain level, if the purification is complete, we become fully pure beings. Another way to look into a pure being is someone who is worthy of respect, someone who is worthy of veneration. There are stories just by offering a small flower to a pure being. Some beings were in heavens for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and then later on they got liberated, finally. So paying a respect to a pure being was the main reason for some to attain liberation, to some to get rid of samsara, to get rid of the woeful states. So fulfilling parami means walking upon the path which purifies ourselves. When we are purified, we become people or beings who are worthy of veneration. If you are fulfilling parami means practicing to attain liberation. It means we are following a path to become pure beings. So when we reach that level, think, whenever we are reaching that level, we'll be people who will be venerated. Any of you, including myself, any of you is capable of completing this parami, what happens? You will be either Arahant or a Pacheka Buddha or Samma Sambuddha. These are the only three ways out from samsara, right? So if we attain any of these stages, what does it mean? On that day, a piece of your bones deserves to be enshrined in a stupa. It deserves veneration from devas. It deserves veneration from brahmas. It deserves a person may worship this piece of bones of our body, a piece of bones, a part of bones, or some hair, and he or she will be starting a journey to attain liberation. So when we think likewise, we feel like, oh, I'm a person who is going to end up in such a level. So then we get more moral shame. I'm a person trying to be a person who is worthy of respect from devas and brahmas even. So is it okay for me to behave like this? Shouldn't I be more restrained? Shouldn't I have more responsibility about my behavior? So there's another way of thinking about parami. Fulfilling parami means making ourselves one day to be worthy of respect, worthy of veneration. So it is another angle that we should look into fulfilling parami. Yeah. So now we have looked into parami in few angles. Developing the requirements to attain nibbana, upgrading ourselves, and also purifying ourselves and becoming people who are beings who are worthy of respect. Now I'll come back about our finding out the causes, because we stopped from the sila. I'm not going to detailedly explain each and every parami today, so it'll be just to give me a brief introduction to parami. So now parami, why is parami? To attain nibbana, and that is through by developing Maggajnana, arousing Maggajnana, and it eradicates defilements. So in order to capacitate our mind into the level of Maggajnana, we need vipassana. In order to do vipassana, we need samadhi, we need some Dhamma knowledge, we need some sila. Now, only with these all requirements, we'll be able to practice well and get into the higher stages. Now, think about keeping a sila. We cannot keep sila without renouncing things, right? We have to renounce some level of wealth. If you are too greedy to wealth, we'll find out one way or another to earn money. But if we are keeping ourselves into the borders of sila, we would say, no, I cannot earn money by killing animals. I cannot earn money by stealing from someone. I have to follow a righteous method. So this is sort of giving up. We have to discipline ourselves in order to practice a sila. Sometimes we have to give up. Now, in order to learn the Dhamma, we have to give up some sensual desires. Instead of listening to this talk, we would have listening a song by now. Someone would have watching a movie. If he liked entertainment, would think why we are listening to a Dhamma talk, which is quite boring most of the time. So then we are able to, only if we are able to renounce something, certain our pleasures, we'll be able to learn Dhamma. We'll be able to focus on sila, develop a sila. For that, we need to endure a lot of suffering. So when the things are going well, yes, we'll be able to practice a sila well, but the thing is, it will be tested on difficult occasions. When our economy is collapsing, when our income is slowing down. So still, are we still sticking to our sila? Are we still practicing our morality? So then we need patience, we need kanti, we need a lot of effort, we need a lot of determination. Only then we'll be able to practice sila. In order to develop these qualities, we should be giving up certain things. Dana is a must. Only then we'll be able to develop good qualities. So likewise, when we analyze this path, it's easy to say sila, samadhi, panya, eradicate defilements and get rid of samsara. But in order to develop sila, in order to develop samadhi, we have to have lots of effort, lots of good other qualities. So developing these requirements for sila, samadhi and panya is also fulfilling parami. That is why in our teachings we find parami is called dana parami. Without giving up, we cannot practice sila deeply. We have nekkhamma parami, without renouncing the pleasures. We should have viriya parami, effort to keep on continuing without giving up. We have aditthana parami, kanti parami. So these are very necessary in order to walk on this path. And a good quality that anyone would develop in this path is satcha, keeping the promises, having truth, speaking truthful words. Metta, getting rid of anger, having a pleasant mind. Upekha, developing equanimity. So these are all necessary factors in order to develop sila, samadhi, panya. So therefore, we find 10 paramis. All the good qualities that are required to attainment are classified into 10. When we complete this, what happens is our mind automatically upgrades to a level that it is capable of eradicating the defilements. We should not think like we are fulfilling parami, 10 baskets, and suddenly we are uplifted and suddenly we get out of samsara. No, it's not happening like that. It's not that we are fulfilling parami, we don't have an urge to attain nibbana, but still we are fulfilling parami, and suddenly when the baskets are filled, we suddenly get out of samsara. No. Parami means the entire journey towards nibbana. The moment we start, till the moment we liberate, we are fulfilling parami. Please keep in mind, Bodhisatta's paramis were not fulfilled at the Vesantara life. No. His paramis were fulfilled under the Bodhi tree. Just before his attainment of Magganyana, Arahata Magganyana, he was fulfilling Parami. He was practicing Panya Parami. He was practicing Virya Parami. He made a determination that he would not stand from this seat unless he become an enlightened person. So his paramis were completed under the Bodhi tree, not at the Vesantara life. So why I'm talking in this way? Because sometimes people have an understanding fulfilling Parami is doing something else, and then with the power of this, will be taken towards the liberation. No. Fulfilling Parami means walking on the path towards liberation. So listening to this talk, translating, listening, memorizing, giving this talk, all are fulfilling Paramis because they all help us for the liberation. When you are giving dana in a ceremony, when you are practicing sila every day, when you are going for a retreat for meditation, when you are helping in a retreat for meditation. So whatever good deeds we do are because we do it with the intention of getting into the liberation of fulfilling Parami. So therefore, we understand that these are the requirements in order to attain the liberation. Yeah, so to conclude our talk today, we discussed what Parami is. Para is the Nibbana or the Magganyana. Parami is that which takes us to this goal. So fulfilling Parami is fulfilling the requirements to attain this final attainment. Another way to look into this is upgrading ourselves, our mind, into that level, which it can eradicate defilements and attain the liberation, Nibbana. And another way to look into it is like we are purifying ourselves, so one day we'll be people who deserve respect, deserve veneration, becoming pure beings. Then we also talked, Parami is not that something we do and because of its power, we are getting into liberation. No, it is part of our journey. It's a part of our journey. Whatever we do for the attainment is Parami. And when you reduce the path to liberation as Sila Samadhi Panya, we get to know that it is not difficult to fulfill these three training without some prerequisites, some qualities, such as effort, such as determination, such as patience, equanimity, loving kindness. No, it's not possible to practice without them. So that's why Parami, in our books, it is mentioned, in order to attain that final goal, we should have these 10 qualities. These 10 qualities, when we complete these 10 qualities in our path, automatically it means that we are reaching towards the final destination. So from next day, from the next month, we'll be talking about each and every Parami in detail and why in each and every Parami is necessary for the attainment of liberation. We'll go into a detailed explanation about each and every Parami. So this was just a brief introduction about the Paramis.
Another kusala.
Okay. So there was a first thing, like if you do akusala, that can be Parami because of aspiration. Is it? No. There's
no. There's not something like that.
Right. Okay. Right. So it's a good one. It's a good question. It's it has to be explained in having dissected. When we look into the texts, we find that in order to become a Parami, for something to be a Parami, we should have the intention that may this merit, may this kusala be a supporting factor for my enlightenment. So that is the normal requirement. We normally say, you give a dana, you wish for Nibbana, and that becomes a Parami. And if you don't wish for Nibbana, we are just giving dana, we normally say that would not directly help you to attain, but it would help you to gain bliss in the samsara. That's the normal explanation regarding Parami and non-Parami. But when you look into the doctrine, there are lots of information about people doing good things and still they have become helpful for our attainment. I'll give you a small example, a story. Some of you have heard about it actually. Buddha, 5 people came to meet the Buddha, and Buddha gave a Dhamma talk. It's a live talk. And Venerable Ananda was fanning Buddha, right? He was fanning. Then after the talk finished, 5 of them went away. Venerable Ananda asked a question from Buddha Bhante. It was really surprising. Having come to a Samma Sambuddha, those 5 listened to your talk in 5 different ways. One was sleeping in front of Buddha. Other one was shaking a branch in the tree where he was sitting. One was drawing circles on the earth. Other one was looking at the sky. Only one person was attentively listening to the Dhamma. So it's surprising, the 5 had the merits to meet the Buddha, but still they didn't get the opportunity. So they didn't utilize the opportunity. It's merit, or somehow they had the opportunity to meet the Buddha. It was a very special case. Then the Buddha said, yes, Ananda, that the reasons were, one person has been living as a serpent, a snake, for many lives, so he had the habit of sleeping always. One person was an earthworm, and he used to draw circles on earth. The one was a monkey for many lives, so he was shaking a branch of a tree as for his habit. One was an astrologer who was looking at the sky always, looking into the stars and try to guess which nakata was coming and on. And one was a Brahmin who studied Veda in many lives. And Buddha said this person was very attentive. Why? He used to study the Vedas. Studying Vedas, he has to be attentive. He has to give a lot of attention to listen and to memorize and to study. So then Buddha said, this person got enlightened and he became a Sotapanna and went away. And it shows that other people were not able to listen to him, but that person was capable. The Buddha attributed that for studying the Vedas. We know according to our Dhamma, Veda is not a perfect doctrine. It contains creation. It contains some wrong information according to Theravada. So studying Veda, we know normally don't say you are fulfilling Parami by studying Vedas. Right? So just because of studying a Veda thoroughly, that attentiveness, that effort, that focus he developed was helpful for him to attain the liberation. So that was never a parami of his. He would have never studied Veda to attain liberation, right? So, and it was, even he had such a thought, that would not be a real parami, because he was following a different doctrine. So according to this story, it shows that even studying the Veda was helpful for the attainment. There's nothing to say if someone is practicing good qualities. That would never not be a supporting factor for the enlightenment. Now, I put it in this way. Think about someone has started the journey. Someone has aspired to be a Buddha or a Pacceka Buddha or an Arahant one day. After he has started the journey. It's not that he will be having this aspiration throughout the samsara. Obviously not. Even a Mahabodhisatta would not have it in all his lives. If he had, he would not be doing such bad deeds in some lives as has been recorded. So after he has started this journey, whatever the good things that he have done, directly or indirectly, supports him for this attainment, because he is developing a good, wholesome habit within himself. But if someone does a merit directly wishing for Nibbana, that is going to be a strong supportive factor for the attainment. No doubt about that. No argument about that. But if someone is still practicing good qualities, even without an aspiration to attain Nibbana, we cannot deny the possibility of it becoming a supporting factor for the liberation. So therefore, as Buddhists, there's nothing to worry. Just you can do and you can wish for liberation. That's it. But if someone asks a technical question, yes, that's how I would answer this question. So, yeah, it would be nice if we have such a meter, we can understand how much parami has been fulfilled and not, like a thermometer. Now, what parami is fulfilled and not. Yeah, I know this question is because I think the question was asked. Now, we have been giving dana for a longer time, and should we more focus on sila or samadhi instead of giving dana? Maybe that was the trigger for this kind of a question. First of all, surely there is no such a meter that we can judge whether dana is complete. Now, if you give another 10 danas, the dana parami would be completed. No, there's no such a meter that, and we are not capable of saying that. Even maybe a Buddha would be able to say now, yes, he's perfect, some fulfilled, and so forth, and so on. And since we are born in a non-Buddhist, in an era Buddha has passed away, so we have to take it, right? And also keep in mind that overflowing parami is not a fault. If you have done paramis more than what is required, it's also not something bad. For example, if you have done, now think it in this way, we are heading towards a certain goal. For example, if you think this is the goal, right? So if you keep on doing good paramis for a longer period, what happens? Still you will reach the goal, but you will reach it in a higher level, Being an arahant, now for example, we know that there are different levels of arahants even. Sariputta was of a different level than the other savakas. Mahasavakas were of a great level. So if you have fulfilled more and more paramis, means more and more parami means if you have done more and more dana, sila than other person, your attainment would be a higher one. So it's not a waste. It's not a waste. So someone can argue the question why we do just fulfilling some kind of dana without meditation practice. So this is a very tough question. Like it's not something that is a clear-cut thing. It's not a clear-cut thing. We cannot say just go and practice without giving dana. But personally, I would not do that normally. I would say, okay, you can start now meditation, but don't give up your good qualities. Don't give up what you have been doing. Even monks, still we give dana. We give Buddha puja. We give leftover foods to animals. And also, if a beggar comes to us, we are capable of giving something that we have, according to Vinaya even. Even we can give something to our parents. So it's not that that we should think like I have done dana parami and I should stop and I should focus on, I should start practicing sila. Now I have fulfilled my sila, then moves on to nekkhamma. So it's not something that we should think in such a way. Whenever we get the opportunity to do something, we do it. Now, for example, if someone has the desire to become a monk, then if someone asks the question, but I want to be a monk, but I still know I can practice dana parami as a layperson, what would I choose? So in such a decision, yes, we would encourage being a monk in such an era. If you have the desire, if you have the capacity, would become a much greater merit than giving dana as a layperson. We can evaluate such thing. But that is also not to generalize it. It's not to say that everyone should ordain without being a lay, without giving up the lay life. So this kind of a question is like, it is very personal. It depends on the person and it depends on your aspiration. For example, if you are wishing to be a Buddha, for instance. So surely you have to practice dana enormously than any other savaka. So there's no choice, no hope, no other way. And for one to be a Pacheka Buddha, surely he has to fulfill the paramis in a higher level because his attainment is very high. In order to reach that level, you have to do more and more sacrifices, more and more commitments. So rather than saying whether my paramis are fulfilled, that can only be known by a Buddha, not even by Sariputta, to my knowledge in the doctrine. So what we should do, I would instruct is, do good deeds as much as possible whenever you can. And if you find out, for example, my samadhi is weak, my sila is weak, work on that. Try to work on the weak paramis as much as possible. And another way to look into is, if you find out that you can develop a certain parami very strongly, even fulfilling that throughout the life would also not be infertile. So it's very difficult. I'm a monk who does not generalize and say, just focus on meditation, don't do this and this, because people are in different levels. I don't know the level of the person who asked the question. I don't know who will be listening to this talk. So I would normally say, do good deeds as much as possible. Whatever you think is good, do it. In order to make a proper decision, in order to make the good decision, you study the Dhamma and discuss with the teachers. And then you will have the capacity to decide what to do next.
Bhante, it is said that after sila, dharma knowledge is needed to achieve samadhi. how to know if the Dhamma that we studied or listened is a true Dhamma, not an adama? Is it needed to study the whole Tipitaka before we perform samadhi? Thank you, Bante.
So yeah, it's also something that is very difficult to judge, like whether we have fulfilled parami or not. So you will be able to know whether you have studied the correct Dhamma or Adhamma after you have fulfilled this. For example, after you have practiced some Sila, and when you are practicing Samadhi and meditation. If the Dhamma you have studied can be experienced with direct experience, through direct knowledge, then we come into the conclusion that the Dhamma I have studied is correct. There's no other way. Either you believe on the people who have gone forward and say, some monks would say, yes, this is the Dhamma I have practiced and I have attained it. You believe such a person and do practice. Or because you have no idea, no clear, maybe when you are studying the Dhamma, you feel like, oh, it makes sense. So I worth studying, worth practicing, giving it a try. Otherwise, you cannot have a direct experience before your practice, right? So there's no way. Only way is just believing someone. There's no other way other than you are experiencing by yourself. So that would happen when you keep on practicing. And the doubt will be removed the moment the one attained the Sotapannahood, because he has directly experienced the Nibbana and completed the task in a one level. Then what he has to do is to repeat the same thing again and again in 3 different levels, and he would attain the final liberation, Arahanthood, and get liberated from samsara completely. So therefore, to judge whether we have studied the correct doctrine or not, one is to believe someone and walk on the path. Next is to study it thoroughly and understand whether it makes sense. And still, even it makes sense, always there will be less clarity as long as we don't walk on this path. In order to be 100% sure that we have studied the correct Dhamma, there's no way other than practicing it and experiencing it with our own selves. So that would be the answer. So it's also not a clear-cut answer, because there is no other way, because someone may have attained before us, and he has the confidence, though he has attained, there's no way that he could arouse confidence within us, right? So therefore, the only way is to practice and try out what you have studied.
Question from Brother Johan. Bante, to instruct further in detail, how do we become sure if one act of kusala will be parami or only a normal kusala? If it is only differentiated from the aspiration to attain nibbana. Bante, mohon arahan lebih detail bagaimana kita bisa lebih yakin kalau suatu tindakan kusala yang kita lakukan akan menjadi parami atau hanya akan menjadi kusala biasa kalau hanya didasarkan pada perbedaannya hanya pada aspirasi untuk mencapai nibbana.
Yeah, now we need more clarification on this. That's the question. Now we think about a kusala and a good deed. Would it help be a parami? Parami means, would it help to attain the final liberation, or would it just be a normal kusala? To be sure, for all of you, whatever you do kusala, to my understanding, would become parami. Don't worry about that, right? Because you have already walking on this path, whether even you don't think about each and every kusala, may this be a parami for my liberation. No, don't worry. Everything would help you become a parami, because you have already started the journey. You have already inclined towards that. Sometimes some kusala you may forget to wish, doesn't matter much, but it's good if you can make a wish. Then the question would be, I'll just slightly change the question in a way. Why is it said that in order to become a parami, a wish is necessary. Why is it said in the doctrine? So that's a good question. It's a question that need to be clarified first. For example, we do the same dana, and another person doing the same dana and wishing to attain liberation, and we said the first dana was not a parami, but the second is. So what is the mechanism behind this? In order to understand, we should go more deeper into the Dhamma. Our mind is working as a stream. It's not one thing, arising and falling, coming after one another. And our mind stream is greatly affected by a latent force called latent defilements. The foremost among this is ignorance, avidya, and tanha. Among tanha, we call bhava tanha, the desire to live, desire to have nama rupa. All our minds are affected by this bhava tanha. Especially the javana chittas, when they get affected. Javana chittas means the strong chittas we call, by which we perform good and bad deeds, verbal, physical, mental activities. There is a certain force, effort in these chittas. That effort we translate into Pali as chetana. Chetana is the intention, effort of the mind to do some act. Virya is energy that sustains our mind in a certain activity, doesn't let it goes away. Virya doesn't let the mind to give up the activity. Chetana is the force to do the activity. What happens is, if this chetana is affected by the latent defilements, even we being not aware of it, that a part of that chetana, part means a certain energy, certain force, that chetana, for example, when it is affected by this chetana, its level increases. Its level increases. We call it ayuhana. A chetana that has been affected by latent craving is called ayuhana. Ayuhana, when it passes away, a certain force remains in our mind. We call it kammasati. This kammasati gives results as a vipaka in as a patisandhi. According to the commentaries, explaining in Anguttara Nikaya, what the Buddha has mentioned, na ayuhati na parikappati attako anuseti. What does it mean? Even a vipassana yogi doesn't wish for a life when his vipassana wisdom, he has not eradicated, since he has not eradicated latent defilements, his mind is affected by this craving. So what happens? Even his chetana is capable of giving a rebirth. Now the mechanism, this is the extreme level. Even at the extreme level, still it can give a rebirth. According to Theravada Abhidhamma, even Gotrabhu Chetana can give a rebirth. Even Gotrabhu has the capacity to give a rebirth. Why is that? They are affected by latent craving. So this is the mechanism. Whatever good or bad we do, they have the capacity to give a rebirth if they were done completely. Some actions may not have the capacity, but the fundamental quality is Bhava Tanha needs more and more lives, so all the good and bad deeds get the capacity to give a rebirth. There can be differences if the karma was not complete, karma pata, karma, there are such explanations. But fundamentally, that's the mechanism. Now, good deeds gives rebirth, bad deeds give rebirth. So Nibbana is getting out of rebirth. So naturally the tendency is to go towards the rebirth. In order to stop this, there should be some extra effort, some extra determination. A lot of courage should be there. So that's why we normally say, if a wish is not placed karma can naturally give a rebirth in the samsara, whether we wish or not. Whether we wish or not, we give dana that has the capacity to give a rebirth in a good realm. We kill an animal, it has the capacity to give a rebirth in the woeful realm. Wish doesn't matter there. Because latently, craving is wishing for a birth. So karma satisfies this latent craving. In order to stop this, we have to have a strong wish, a desire to change the mind, the direction towards a different angle. It is not that karma always give a rebirth. It's not that the karma is giving us liberation. It's not that the karma is making us, karma is producing a liberation, nibbana. No. What we are doing is, we make a wish so that our entire mind, the wish itself, supports the karma, and it becomes a habit for the liberation, to develop good qualities that are necessary in order to eradicate defilements. Always keeping in mind, fulfilling parami is eradicating defilements, is for the eradication of defilements. Eradication of defilements has to happen with the upgrading of the mind. So by wishing this, we are turning our mind towards the liberation. Towards the liberation. So what happens? Even when the karma is giving result, when karma is giving result, it would give a rebirth. But that result, the new life we obtained by such a parami karma, it would facilitate. It is easy for that person to grow from there. So parami is not capable of giving no rebirth. It will give rebirth. You cannot avoid that. Even vipassana jnana would give a rebirth. So what we are doing is, we are making a determination. We are shaping our mind towards another direction. That is why a wish was necessary. If we don't make the wish, the automatic wish is going on. That is latent desire. Whether we wish or not, the latent desire incapacitate the karma to give a rebirth. So that's why it is mentioned in the doctrine. If you don't wish, if you don't change your mind towards the rebirth, natural flow is go towards the patisandhi. So that is a very good thing. I don't know whether the idea was fully conveyed here, because it's a tough one. You need some basic understandings to understand what is latent defilement, what is affecting, what is karma, what is vipaka, and what is turning the mind stream towards the liberation. So later on, throughout our series, I'll touch on these points. So at the end, we'll have a better picture about parami.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Anumodami, Bante, of the explanation. Now we are going to ask for forgiveness to Bante. Sahabat Dhamma yang berbahagia, mari kita semua bersikap anjali. Dengan segala kerendahan hati, kita memohon maaf kepada Bante atas kesalahan yang pernah kita lakukan, baik melalui pikiran, ucapan, dan perbuatan sebelum dan selama acara malam ini berlangsung. Bante, if we have done something wrong in the past and present, whether intentionally or unintentionally, through actions of our body, speech, or mind, may we sincerely, humbly, and respectfully ask for Bante's forgiveness.
Get it. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sahabat Dhamma, mari kita limpahkan jasa kebajikan yang telah kita lakukan dengan pelimpahan jasa yang akan dibimbing oleh Bhikku Watagoda Maggavihari. Mari kita semua bersikap anjali. Bante, we would like Bante to please guide us for the sharing merits and aspirations recitations while we all follow in mute.
Okay. So thank you for listening to the Dhamma talk, and lots of merits for everyone who listened, who translated, especially Brother Adyansha for his good translation, and also the moderating brother, and everyone who participated. So may all of you be able to fulfill the parami and finally get into the liberation as soon as possible. Idang me punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu. Idam me punyang nibbanassa paccayo hotu. Ittavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang. Sabbe devanumodantu, sabbe bhutanumodantu, sabbe sattanumodantu, sabba sampatti siddhya. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang wo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang wo nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang mama punya bhagan sabba sattanam bhajemi. Te sabbe me samang punya bhagang labantu. Sadhu sadhu sadhu. Buddha sasanang chirantittatu. Buddha sasanang chirantittatu. Buddha sasanang chirantittatu. Sadhu sadhu sadhu.
Thank you for this whole session, Bante. May our merits of keeping the precepts, listening to the Dhamma, and sharing of merits be strong supporting conditions for our attainment of Nibbana. So, Bante, the session today has ended. If Bante would like to rest or leave the meeting, is welcome to leave the meeting. Thank you, Bante.